be talking about Strapi CMS. It's a headless CMS written in Node.js. It is open source. It's great. It's what we are using to rebuild our website.
All right. So our current website, we have created, Sam created a while ago, and using Squarespace, and it has a lot of good things on it. And we wanted to expand upon this, but also kind of have our own type of a design in it. Uh, have it more of a lockdown design. It also gives whoever wants to create the content for the site the ability just to fill in some text fields. So while searching for all this different thing, we checked out Ghost CMS, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah, and that one would have worked well if we were just doing blogs. It seemed to, once you got past blogs, it seemed to kind of have some issue, or not issues, but not as open for what we expected to be. And then we landed on Strapi. So here is Strapi's website, strapi.io, and it is a headless CMS, which essentially means that we get contents by calling APIs. It provides a really nice user interface for filling out different components. It is used, as you can see here, it's used by lots of different companies. And we took this API or not API, we took Strapi, stuck it into our data center, running in Kubernetes, our Kubernetes data center. And then we wrote an Angular app that calls the API to pull down all the content. So as we change content, you can see it being changed on the page. And then we did a couple other things after that to kind of make it more streamlined and nicer for search engines and SEO type of things. And we'll kind of get into all of that as I show you what we're gonna, or how we did it. So first, we downloaded Strapi, and Strapi has their own cloud offering. So if you don't want to deal with that, you can go ahead and join the cloud. We just wanted to be able to run it inside of our our hosted data center. So we just downloaded it, and as you can see, here is our Strapi. And I'll just log in. But I would be fancy and have everything all set up to go, but it auto locked me out. So here is Strapi's. We'll just go to the dashboard, and they got some information that you can look through: documentation, code examples, lots of links over here that you can get some help, look at the source code, all that kind of stuff. The big thing with Strapi is this content type builder. What this does is allows you to define pretty much any data structure that you want. So like we have blogs, which has a title, a short description, the image for the listing page, and I'll show you that in a minute, author, content, a bunch of different things, SEO information that we can plug in there. And we define these things, and you can configure the view for filling out the information. And that's what this page is. You can move these things around. You can remove things that you don't want an end user to be able to add, which is great if there's fields that you want to have locked down that an end user cannot look at. But then once you have a collection or a single type or component, these two filled out, you can go to Content Manager. And then here's where a person would come in and fill out an entry. So like blogs, we have in here, we have Harbor on ARM. And this is just kind of like I said, a sample site. So we have we've got our title here, short description, author, our listing image, and again, I'll show you all that content, which can be filled out, and it comes over as Markdown. So all of that comes out like that. But as you do more things, it'll come out as Markdown language, which we can simply produce. And then you can define like collections here inside of it, where we have different categories. So this one's tech, Kubernetes, other, super awesome, because it is super awesome. How we want the URL to be set up, or how to be in our application, so we can do proper search engine, nicer search engine crawling and whatnot, and just some other information that we can fill out here, and then that makes it available to us to put on our website. So here is our Harbor and ARM, and this site here is a site that, like I said, we wrote in Angular. We took used a template off of Wrap Bootstrap. We bought it a couple years ago, and we're now getting into it here, which defines a bunch of different pages for it. But we narrowed it down to what pages we want to use, and then we brought that into the Angular app, and we figured out which pieces here we want to start allowing a user to fill in. So if we go to the blogs, all of these pieces here are things that you saw in the content manager that an end user can fill in here, and then we laid out the pages and then plugged in the Angular tags to fill in the information. So if we go, I got to actually open WebStorm. If we open WebStorm here, come on.
Right. So this is pretty cool. It separates our content from the website, right? Like you
Yes.
could just go put all this content in your HTML and there it is. But this way, there's a nice way for people to enter information, low friction way to add content to our site. And two, we can have our site deployed out there, and if we want to make a change to the title, we just make a change to the title. There's no deploy to the website. It just grabs that. Now, we do some special sauce, and Eric will probably talk about that later. But with this kind of a setup, you can have your Angular app, and it's just making API calls to grab that data.
Exactly. So here is the component for a blog detail page, and we have and here's some of that secret sauce that I'll talk about later here. But as we go through, we have a blog with a YouTube ID, and that's how we use that to display the image here for the video, and also to make the link for it, and then display the title, author, published at, categories, and then the actual content using a nice plugin or library for Angular. So we use the HTML for the templates and make it how we want it to be. And then we fetch the data from the API, and here's a simple API call. So we got get blogs. Where is the get blogs? There we go. We fetch the blogs just using a simple REST call, and then we plop them into our blog objects, and then using we do some other things in here, like find out what some SEO information so we can publish that properly. We take our blog list and we build up our category items, which is this stuff right here: categories, archives, and recent posts are built up right there as well. So after we get the blog list, we kind of just chug through them and construct our objects and figure out what data we want. We also have a thing where we can define our social media our social media pages. So company social media, we have them all listed right here, and they'll all pull in when we call for it using this simple API call. And then that way we don't have to copy and paste huge chunks of HTML all over the place. We just have a list of socials, and we just build up a list of socials. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's super cool. Not that we would necessarily do this, but because we've done it this way, if we had some sort of sister site, or if we wanted to make an app or whatever, we can repurpose that content because it's all just an API call. It's not, stuck embedded in the HTML. The actual content is out there, and we can use it however we want.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, if we ever have, like you said, an application that we want to maintain a portion of the page as content, we can simply just do it just like this, which is, working for corporations. They have this type of setup as well, but it's, a lot more cumbersome because their content management systems are huge versus a nice, simple, Node.js backend type thing.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're just starting out with Strapi, like, I believe if you just install the demo, you don't even need a database. It just does a SQLite database. So it's basically just saving to a file. Like, I mean, it's super easy to get started. If you're just playing around and starting to learn it, it's really nice.
Yep. Yeah. We have it using a Postgres database in our data center, but it just running a couple simple commands will start up, like you said, the SQLite. You can point it at lots of different types of databases, and it'll just spin up no problem. Another thing that I wanted to point out with the Strapi here is it also handles your media for you. So we have all of our different images for us, for our blogs. And all of these images we can change if we need to based on our content type builder. So we have a list of standard pages, right? And then we have a header image, which we defined the actual image here to be a media content or media type, which is what comes from this library. And then we go into standard pages, we have blog details. And you
can add one.
I can add one. We go, let's do this one. Stop hackers. And then we've got to do this one as well. etcd recovery. And then we hit save. And now that save is successful, and we'll go back to the page here. As you can see, there's nothing there. But if we refresh the page, hey, we got ourselves a hacker screen or a hacker image. And then, the contact, that's right. Contact us isn't in there. But we have a hacker image now.
Right.
And we can also go through, like blog details is mutable. So we can go in and say, our blog, details. I can't type. And then we hit save there. And then we go back here. It's now our blog details.
Yeah.
So, the application running in Angular, we don't have any caching happening right now because we aren't expecting to have this application be live for end users, I guess you could
Right.
say. This is just a staging area. So we can go in, we can change whatever we want. We can plug in new images without affecting our production site.
Mm-hmm.
Which is super nice. I mean, it gives the content people the ability to see what they wanted to see before
Before
publishing
it
it.
goes
And if it's
out.
not going to work, it's not going to work. Or if they need a bug fix in the Angular app, then we can do that, well before
Mm-hmm.
we deploy it. So that, I mean, it for me, it's super nice because I don't know word good.
Mm-hmm.
So I can hand that over
Right.
to the people that can word good, and it won't be a problem.
Yeah.
Another,
So
so go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you want to touch on that? I mean, the whole, this is staging. Maybe there's some downsides to having, your site rely on an API or like what, maybe I'll get into it. If you already had a plan, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah. So we decided to not just use this as the live site, for a couple different reasons. One, it we are for our live site, we would have to be reliant on the data center being available for us. We'd have to, which it's going to be, but there's always that chance.
Right.
We have to make sure that the database is up and working properly, that Strapi is up and working properly. There's lots of different components here that, for just a simple website, we really don't want to have to worry about that. So
Mm-hmm.
what we did on top of that is we set up the site to generate a static copy based on an npm command that we have in our project. So inside of Angular, there's a library to. No, I got to go to the right thing. So inside of, and I'll show you npm real quick. There is this. Doing it just because I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
The platform server, it's a simple, or not as simple. That's the wrong word for it. It's a way for inside of Angular to generate static content, static HTML pages, which the way that they have it designed, it'll generate the static HTML pages, and every page you go into it, and it's nice and quick and snappy, and then Angular loads in after the fact, I guess you could say. So the page itself is all nicely rendered and whatnot, and then Angular comes in, and then you're running out of an Angular app, which is perfect for a lot of different applications. We didn't want to have a simple static website be running out of Angular, so we wrote a set of scripts to kind of go through and do some different things. Like we have this pre-render file, which kind of goes through, calls out to different different pages. And so we have blogs, careers, and whatnot. We fetch all of the IDs, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
from Strapi, and we build up a list of URLs that the Angular application or the Angular plugin will go through and generate the static HTML for. And it generates, you remember the file? What's that file name? You remember what that was called?
Uh,
Server, no, static
is
site,
there like
no.
routes or
Is that what it
something?
was, Routes?
Something like that?
Anyway, it generates a nice file that the Angular plugin will pull in and use to generate all the different static HTML. And then we can see all the static HTML. That's the wrong one. Under server, nope, I was right with browser. Blogs, and then we have, last time I ran this, there was only 2. So we have, Harbor on ARM as the URL, and then it generated this index HTML file. And then same thing with this. And, all of these index HTML files, are fantastic. We wanted to take it a step further, and we did some additional stuff inside of our application with this post render script. And this does a bunch of things. It goes through, it strips out a bunch of unneeded script tags that we don't want anymore for Angular. It keeps the CAPTCHA and whatnot, so we don't have to worry about that stuff. It gets rid of some Angular style stuff that we don't need. One of the things that we didn't want to be reliant on, like I said before, we didn't want to have to worry about Strapi being available for us. And all the URLs for the images are coming from Strapi. So we went through and pulled all those images down, stuck them in an assets folder, and rewrote all the URLs to point at the assets folder. And we also went through and redid the background images if it was in the CSS. So that, that does a bunch of image manipulation, not image manipulation, but you know what I mean. We also go through all of those index HTML files that we have here, and we rewrite them to be, it would be harbor on ARM.html and K3S high availability.html. It just kind of helps format our URLs a little bit better and makes it easier for the crawler to go through. Got some more, we moved some more assets around. We have some PHP that we had to pull into the project. And then we go through and we have some custom JavaScript that runs some custom jQuery stuff that we wrote to handle some of the, like if we show under blogs, there's some way to filter this stuff here and whatnot. All that stuff was, inside the custom JavaScript files. So we minified those JavaScript files. We moved some existing minifieds. We just did a bunch of things in here to make sure that our site is the way we want it to be. And once that is done, then it goes through. Let's see, we got pre-render site. This is our script that we run. So we go through, we generate some files. We run this update reCAPTCHA keys so we can pull in the correct keys. We run the pre-render with the routes file. You were right, routes.txt. Nice one. Nice. And then we run post-routes or post-render, kill the routes file, kill some JS files, and then we run the update to change it back to local. But that, these files that were, it moves or it updates the files inside of the assets folder of the JavaScript, or not JavaScript, of the Angular project. And then we change them back so we don't mess anything up going forward. Because PHP files, like I showed you in the post render, get copied over to the static site, and then we just update them based on that. So another thing that we did, which one of the things that Strapi does nicely is it will, when you upload an image into here, depending on the size of it, it will generate different resolution or different versions for different resolutions. So it'll give you like a thumbnail, it'll give you a small image, a medium image, a large image, and then the full URL that you can use, which is fantastic if you're doing like the Angular app where you can figure out what you're doing. But for a static site, we had to write a simple plugin for or not plugin, a simple class when we build this out to generate our images for our, trying to remember where it is. No. Oh, hold on. I know where it's at. So these images come down to us as basically this: thumbnail, small, medium, large, and then the full URL that we can utilize. Some of them don't come in, so if the image is nice and is small, you'll only get like a thumbnail and a small, and then the full. Some of them will have all of them. Some of them, if they're really small, will just have thumbnail and full. So in this page header section here, there it is. We built a list of dynamic images. So what this does is it has this map here. Well, it's essentially a map, which, for each one of these in Bootstrap, we can go through and, figure out when you have an image and you have the next size up, we can generate a list of sections or divs inside the code so that we can have the application or the UI download a small image if you're on a small screen, download a large image if you're on a huge 1080p type screen. I said 1080p is huge, but that's not really huge, and not anymore. So what this does is it kind of goes through, figures out what images it has, and then builds up all the different URLs that it needs to build up. And if we go back to the API or the application, and we've got this blog here, we look at the blog, we've got several different sections based on what size image you are or size screen you are. So we have D small none, we have D medium none, we have D large none, D XL large none, extra large black, which is the one it's now. And so all of those different classes will turn off and turn on, turn off, turn on, display, not displays, based on the screen width that you're looking on. So if we change this to a mobile, and here I'll show you that we don't download all the images all at the same time. Let me just show you this real quick.
Right.
I gotta do the right image. Let's see, what is this image name? We have, that is the Trivy and Snick demo. So there's our Trivy and Snick demo. And I'm just going to put this at the bottom because it's bugging me. There we go. That's the full-blown image because we're looking at the extra large one, right? So if we shrink this screen down, and we'll just use this button right here, and we say, well, as you kind of see right here, as we shrunk it down, it pulled in different versions of the image. So we can say, well, let's say we have an iPhone 12 Pro. It pulled in the thumbnail image. That's a fun thing. It's a bug. If we
It's a
pull,
feature.
exactly, it's a feature. If we pull in like an iPad Mini or iPad Air, it's a wider one, so it'll use a different image. Um, Let me just refresh the page. Oh, let me clear this first. Clear, refresh. It pulled in a different size image, and then if we turn that off, it pulls in the large one. So if you're on a mobile phone, you'll get the thumbnail image. If you're on 1280 whatever,
Mm-hmm.
720p or whatever, you're going to get the large image. Or so we try to um, make it so the images that get pulled down kind of correspond with the ideal screen size that you're on.
Right.
So you're not trying to pull down a 1.2 meg image if you're on LTE with shitty service. So
Right. Right, which should, significantly help with performance. And we look at some of the page metrics of websites, they do, you know, run it for multiple, types of devices. So being able to do that while still having a static site, is really cool.
yeah, exactly. Um, let's see here. Another thing that we can talk about here is we have um, the way we generated our services pages. So we can kind of look here. Um, one nice thing, or one thing that there's always trouble with is pulling in or keeping data consistent um, across the website, right? So say you add a new service and you need to add it here, and then you need to add it at the main services page, and then you need to add the service page itself, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
With using Strapi and the Angular, we rely on the data being there. So we have services, and we can define the different things that we want to define. We have the URL text, we have the header image for when it's the page, we have the let's see here, it's the card icon, which is what's being used on here. These things right here are the card icons. So that utilizing it this way gives us the ability to just add it in one place, and it's added across all the different locations.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to worry about things being inconsistent if you're on the home page versus the service page versus the actual service page itself. I think that's my spiel.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the whole point, right? I mean, we've got our Squarespace website, and it's fine. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely looks like it could be running on Squarespace or Wix or whatever. Um, and the performance was, I mean, a huge part of it. Like, so, depending on the time of day, it feels like, whatever Squarespace traffic is experiencing, it can be pretty slow. And I mean, if you look at the content of this page, there are so many extra blocks and so many scripts that get pulled in because Squarespace is doing all that for you. But it's stuff that we don't need. For the most part, our site is just static, and most of the time, we're not going to be changing it. It is a nice way to edit your content. Like if you've ever made a Squarespace site, it's easy. It's easy to edit, but the bloat that they add to make that possible is, it's too much
Mm-hmm.
when all we need is a static site. So we kind of took the best of both worlds of having Strapi as that CMS, super low friction way to edit your content. And then, Eric wrote some scripts, and now it's just a flat, small, static site, super easy to deploy. So, yeah, I think we're really happy with it, and hopefully we'll be launching it soon.
Yeah. Did you want to show the like the things that you set up inside of GitHub?
Um, how about you just show in Strapi real quick?
Okay.
I will need to leave soon. Yeah, if you go to settings, so as a part of Strapi. Somewhere in their webhooks, it's under the top one. Yep. So as a part of Strapi, you can configure webhooks. Um, you should be able to open that. Great. No secrets. Love to see it. Um,
Perfect.
yes. So what we have done is right our live Angular site that Eric's been showing off is just live. It's purely whatever is in Strapi is what you're going to get, which is perfect for our staging environment, essentially, right? There's our pre-prod. Um, when we deploy to production and it's that flat, final static site that Eric scripts generate, um, we want to be able to know when do we need to make the new changes, right? Like if we go add a blog and we're good with it and we're ready to ship it, we need to know, hey, go rebuild that site and publish it out there. So that's what the webhook allows us to do. You can kind of see on the bottom there are some options as far as when to fire that webhook. So we're not doing it all the time, only when you publish or unpublish. So in the content manager, you can publish, unpublish records. And that way, if you have something published and you're working on it and making updates, but you're not ready for it to go out yet, you can still save your work. It'll still be in there. It'll be in that staged site, but it won't go to the final image until you publish it again. Um, and I think I left the media on all of them just in case. I don't know. Well, we can tweak it. But yeah, basically that just calls out to, well, I'm not even, yeah, I'm pretty sure that calls out to Google Cloud build,
Hmm.
and builds our site. And then part of that build is deploying to Google Cloud Run and updating that. So I don't know. It's been a while since I've actually looked at it to make sure it's all working and stuff, but
Right.
um, it was working at one point at least.
Yes. Yep. So we don't need to um, well, we the developers don't need to be involved with deploying out new changes to the static site. That could be all that can be handled inside of here with the publish unpublish stuff, or creating new media media pictures, or whatever. All that stuff will trigger automatically the site to be rebuilt inside of Google Cloud. We set it up for Google Cloud, but you can set it up for whatever static site hosting you want to use. Or if you don't want it to do based on events, you can simply just say
Right.
trigger, and
Yep.
it'll kick it off for you. Which
Right.
is, if you're constantly doing publishing and you don't want to make change, you don't want to push anything out until tomorrow, then that's when that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of the more cautious way to do it. We could uncheck all those boxes and just, when we want the new site, you click that button, you're good to go. Yeah, it's really cool. I've been really happy with it in general.
Yeah, and it's working great for what we want to do. So
Right. Right. For our use case, for sure.